another motherfucking relay. We're covering today's top boxing news. Ow!
Okay, we'll start with this. Well, the time has come to make a decision, folks.
Yes, sir.
When it comes to Vasyl Lomachenko versus Teofimo Lopez, it's not exactly a foregone conclusion that either man wins the fight, especially when a polarizing fighter is involved. Much of what you hear isn't actually a nuts and bolts breakdown, fight mechanics, as far as who wins this contest. Conventional wisdom would indicate that Vasyl Lomachenko is not only the more experienced amateur boxer, having competed at the highest levels of amateur boxing, but he is also the more experienced professional. Teofimo Lopez has not been a world champion for all that long. He won the IBF title in his very last fight. He's been a world champion for all of 10 seconds. Whereas Vasyl Lomachenko has been a champion at 126, has been a champion at 130, and is a unified champion at 135 pounds. And we're not talking about accolades here, folks. We're talking about experiences in world title fights. High-level situations with high-level fighters. Teofimo Lopez's only high-level situation with a high-level fighter is a situation that didn't last all that long, that ended rather abruptly, and that was the fight against Richard Comeo. It was very impressive that he knocked him out the way that he did, but one is left to wonder, when the fight itself is so abrupt and so quickly, how much experience do you actually derive from it?
Not a lot.
You know, for a long time, I questioned as to whether or not Teofimo Lopez had the right style for the job. Does he have what it takes stylistically to beat Vasyl Lomachenko? Rolling punches off the shoulder, looking to capitalize off of counter shots, hitting a guy with a shot that he doesn't see as to get the guy hurt, and then start pouring it on. I questioned as to whether or not this style would do Teofimo any favors against Vasyl Lomachenko, and I immediately thought to myself, no, not really. I mean, if you're working off the counter against Vasyl Lomachenko, that would then have to mean you're working off of what he's doing. And what he's doing is very, very hard to read. Discouraging for some fighters. He's been described as a ghost. It's like fighting a ghost. Not only are you getting hit by him, but you're trying to get your shots off, and you can't. You can't find him. I felt that attempting to roll punches off the shoulder against Vasyl Lomachenko, who's a southpaw, who leads with his right hand, whereas Teofimo leads with his left. I felt that stylistically that would leave Teofimo at a disadvantage, attempting to set up a shot that Vasyl Lomachenko doesn't see when he is such a difficult fighter to read. Then I caught wind that Teofimo enlisted the aid of Joey Gamache, and that the plan of action to defeat Vasyl Lomachenko was not to necessarily look to set up a counter shot, but to back him up, back him off.
Which is actually a solid plan.
Pressure him. Don't give him the room and the real estate. Don't give him the opportunity to employ any of those nuances he has. There are different ways to apply pressure in a fight as to get a guy to move backwards. You can fire a barrage of punches, be an artillery guy, you can do it that way, try to crowd the guy, get in his wheelhouse, or you can pressure him with your footwork by staying in front of him, which is a more reactionary kind of pressure fight, the kind of fight to where you're trying to force the guy to throw based on where you are, and based on what he throws, that's what determines what you will counter with. There are different ways to pressure the man opposite the ring. I think that in applying pressure, Teofimo could find more success than he would if he were looking to work off the counter. But that's relative, you understand. That's not a failsafe. It's not a guarantee this is going to work, as Vasyl Lomachenko has the fanciest feet, the fanciest footwork, anywhere from 126 to 135. And it's very difficult to keep a guy who can move like Vasyl Lomachenko can move in front of you.
Lest we forget he's a southpaw.
As he employs that lead hand, his right hand, he's going to be moving to the outside of Teofimo Lopez's left hand. This often disrupts many orthodox fighters, guys who like to work off of their jab. It's kind of hard to do that when the guy's natural instinct is to move just on the outside of that jab, to come over the top of it. I think that Teofimo Lopez packs enough punch that he can hurt Vasyl Lomachenko if he lands clean. Perhaps hurt him more so than any other fighter has in the professional ranks. However, that is contingent on Teofimo Lopez being able to set his feet to throw those power shots.
I don't think Vasyl Lomachenko's movement will allow for that.
Teofimo Lopez is a big, strong kid who's all in his prime. Throws snappy punches, good speed on those shots, great power. But this isn't Richard Comey he's facing. Richard Comey, who hyperextends to get off his power shots. The kind of guy you can catch coming through the front door. Everything Vasyl Lomachenko throws is very abrupt, very short. Not much room in there to slip something in.
It just isn't.
The only thing I can think of that's actually working against Vasyl Lomachenko in this fight is that it's been over a year since he saw any action. The last time he was in action was in August of last year, whereas we're in October of 2020. So his timing, his speed, and his reflexes might be about half a second off, and maybe Teofimo can capitalize off of that. But I think about Vasyl Lomachenko and how long he's been at this as an amateur, as a professional. The muscle memory is there, and I don't think it's going to take all that much to get his juices going again. I don't. Not for a guy with this much experience, amateur or pro. What I envision, what I see here, is a bull and matador situation to where Teofimo Lopez will try to take control of the fight, try to take the lead, but constantly be outmaneuvered and peppered with shots by Vasyl Lomachenko.
From different angles.
That is one of Vasyl Lomachenko's strong suits, and that is his area of expertise. You don't always know what he's going to throw. You don't always know what he's going to hit you with. He's got decoy punches and feints, and he mixes in his power shots with the pity-pat punches. You just don't know what the guy's going to do. Though both of these guys are plenty athletic. Upper body movement, angles, good hand speed, good foot speed. It's just that Teofimo really is a more conventional kind of fighter than Vasyl Lomachenko is. Vasyl Lomachenko is very stylized, very nuanced, and very difficult to read. And I think that is what he will prove to be for Teofimo Lopez tomorrow night. It's for this reason I've decided to go with Vasyl Lomachenko to win tomorrow night. And I don't know how convinced I am that Vasyl Lomachenko stops Teofimo Lopez. He's a big, strong kid who's all in his prime, and his power may just get enough of Vasyl Lomachenko's respect that he doesn't get overzealous out there. He doesn't get crazy.
Employ more finesse than ferocity.
In this situation, Vasyl Lomachenko is the logical choice, and that's what this prediction is based off of. It's based off the logic that Vasyl Lomachenko has competed at a much higher level as an amateur and a much higher level as a pro than Teofimo Lopez has, and Vasyl Lomachenko is not quite over the hill enough.
Not yet.
At least not for me, that I think he loses tomorrow night. Nah, I think he wins, and I think he wins a points decision. I think that if Teofimo's going to get him, he's going to get him early. But if this fight wears on, the longer it does, the longer it continues, the more Teofimo will find himself in unfamiliar territory against a better fighter than anyone he's even had the opportunity to fight. And I think that Vasyl Lomachenko can survive the early rounds, and he can outbox, out-precision, and outthink Teofimo Lopez. So that's what I'm going with. That's who I'm going with. And may the best man win, because either way, we're in for a hell of a fight tomorrow night. Moving on, in heavyweight news, I'm sure that most of you have heard already that Anthony Joshua versus Kubrat Pulev is official for December 12th at the O2 Arena. People in the United Kingdom can see the fight on Sky Sports. People in the United States and elsewhere can watch it on DAZN. No surprises here. I think that both the Joshua people and the Pulev people were in agreement to stage this fight later in the year rather than sooner. Per some quotes from Eddie Hearn, we'll be doing everything we can to lobby for the safe return of fans to this event. That's right. They plan on people being there for this thing. And that is the appeal of fighting Anthony Joshua, after all. The sizable purses that come from fighting him, win or lose.
Yeah.
Big part of those sizable purses is the live gate revenue. And that's why I think this fight is happening at this point in the year. Anthony Joshua could have got out there and knocked this fucking guy out months ago. But they decided to wait, and I have no doubts that was the rhyme and the reason for that. The night of the fight, both Anthony Joshua and Kubrat Pulev will have been out of action roughly about a year. The both of them. But for a guy Kubrat Pulev's age, being inactive for about a year, 39 years old. It's going to hit him a little differently than it's going to hit Anthony Joshua, who's a very spry 31 years old. Lest we forget, Kubrat Pulev hasn't seen any action since November of last year when he took on Rydell Booker. Whereas Anthony Joshua has not seen any action since the Andy Ruiz rematch, where he reclaimed 3 of the 4 major titles. And even though this is a mandatory title defense by way of the IBF, who take their mandates very seriously, this fight reads very much like a formality. I mean, I was convinced, before the pandemic shut everything down, that Anthony Joshua was going to knock this guy out, that this would be a return to a more aggressive front foot Anthony Joshua than the stick and move back foot Anthony Joshua, lateral movement Anthony Joshua, fight behind your jab Anthony Joshua that we last saw in action in December. This is merely a prelude to what is to be the Tyson Fury fight, Tyson Fury fights that await in 2021. Though even now, there is that which needs reconciliation, and that is Alexander Usyk, rather the winner of Usyk versus Chisora, which is set to go down before this year is out in just a few weeks. 2, roughly. Usyk's tune really hasn't changed. He doesn't seem to have any intention of stepping aside to allow Anthony Joshua to fight Tyson Fury, though I will say Jack Catterall was singing a very similar tune at 140 pounds. He was dead set on interrupting the undisputed title fight between Jose Ramirez and Josh Taylor. And you know what? They got that guy to simmer down. They did. He finally decided to step aside to allow the undisputed 140-pound title fight. And I think
Somebody gets their checkbook out.
maybe Usyk can be persuaded to stand down. Give him a gimme fight on the undercard of the Joshua versus Fury fight. No one so interesting that he might be jeopardizing his title shot. Assuming he can hold on to it in the Chisora fight, that would be the ideal scenario. That would be the ideal solution. Because the talk seems to be that if both Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua make it through these last fights of 2020, they're dead set to fight each other in 2021. And I'm not against that. If it can happen that way, if a solution, reconciliation can be reached between all the affected parties, I want to see Joshua versus Fury sooner rather than later. So let's just get these guys the hell out of the way so we can get to this undisputed heavyweight title fight in 2021.
I've got to say, right, the best thing that happened for AJ was Tyson Fury winning. Because I believe that in that team, Tyson Fury, MTK, Top Rank, Warren, John Fury, whoever else is in that team as well, they all want to fight AJ, right? They all believe they can beat AJ. The other mob, they never wanted it. And I can see it now. And it's only like, it was so frustrating at the period where they wouldn't even have a conversation about fighting Anthony Joshua, right? But this just goes to show me, like, and I believe that, you know, even if Wilder would have won, I don't even know if he would have got the AJ fight made. But I know we'll get the Fury fight made.
You know, I've been telling you guys for a while now, maybe a little over 2 years, 2.5, close to 3. I've been convinced for a long time that Deontay Wilder didn't want that Joshua fight. No, sir.
No.
And had he won the rematch against Tyson Fury, we would not be on the cusp of an undisputed heavyweight title fight between the 2 remaining alphabet titleists. We wouldn't. We wouldn't be here now. We just wouldn't.
No way.
Because what Wilder really wanted, Wilder and his team, was to use the synergy from the fight, siphon popularity off of it to try and raise Wilder's profile. And if he had gotten to a certain point, his marquee value that is, in all likelihood, what he would have done thereafter is isolate himself from everyone else.
He wouldn't have fought Anthony Joshua.
And all the signs are there, all of the red flags. So when I hear these sound bites from Eddie Hearn's recent interview, his analysis of this situation and the predicament that Deontay Wilder currently finds himself in, I can't help but agree that if you look at it in hindsight, Wilder never wanted that fucking fight.
No way.
You guys are playing freeze tag with emails that don't have contracts in them.
Dumb shit.
You're focusing on semantics and wordplay. And that was just a lot of smoke and mirrors so that Deontay Wilder would not outright turn down the Anthony Joshua fight, rather siphon synergy from it, as it was a hot topic. It was a fight that a lot of people wanted to see, and so long as Wilder's name was involved in it, his popularity would get a bit of a boost. That's what it was all about. It was never about making the fight. It was just about trying to raise Wilder's profile. Because when you consider how long Deontay Wilder has been around, what, since 2009?
Just about.
This guy didn't gain any kind of popularity, any kind of momentum, up until the point that Anthony Joshua and all of his fucking fans started pouring all of that money into the heavyweight division. Conversations about unification matches and an undisputed heavyweight champion, the next undisputed heavyweight champion. That's when you saw Wilder get a bit of a profile boost. His profile got a bit of a shot in the arm, but that was as a direct result of what Anthony Joshua was doing for the heavyweight division. It's only in recent years Wilder even became a fucking talking point, because he was there for a good chunk of the Klitschko era, and nobody was falling out of their chair over this guy. It's truly amazing how many people took the bait when it comes to Deontay Wilder. How many people bought into this guy's crap?
Right.
You can hold the evidence right up to their faces that Wilder didn't want this fucking fight, and he rejected it on several occasions after several offers were made to him, each one bigger than the last. You can do this, and the most that these guys can form in terms of a rebuttal is talk about that email offer that Wilder made Anthony Joshua. And even now, people defend Deontay Wilder because they can't admit to themselves that he's not what you thought you was, and guys like me were telling you the whole time.
He's a fucking fraud.
And here we are,